Okay, let's call a meeting to order. Oh, wow, impressive, 6:01 p.m. And Dina, can you do the roll call?
Yes. Joe?
You see me?
Here.
Melinda?
Here.
Rachel?
Here.
Christina? I don't see her yet. Whoops, I lost the list. Kate?
Here.
No, it says Catherine on the list, but is Kate okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Terry?
Here.
David?
Hi.
Hi. And Ebony.
Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody is staying safe. That would be a good thing. We keep trying to do this in the best way possible. Do we vote to approve our agenda? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Hi.
And for once in quite some time, it looks like it's actually doable. That's a really good feeling. You guys are amazing in what you accomplish. Okay, so Dina, do you see any public comment?
At the moment, there's no one from the public attending other than Melissa
Okay,
Gates, who is an applicant to CAPS.
all right. Melissa, would you like to go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself and what looks interesting about the CAPS committee to you?
Hi, everybody. I wasn't expecting to talk.
Well, if you don't want to, too.
No, I'll talk. Yeah, so I just moved to Superior this year to Colorado. I had been overseas for a couple of years, traveling and doing volunteer work. So I just got back in time to quarantine. And so I just got set up in Superior in June. I got a job in Boulder, working for a biopharma company. And I always like to get involved where I live. So I was just looking for some sort of way to give back and volunteer. And I thought, what an awesome way to do it, to serve on a committee. And then so I looked into the town of Superior and found you guys.
Well, sounds good. Thank you for finding us. And if you have any questions later on, let us know or
Thanks,
reach
I
out
appreciate
to
it.
us. All right. Thanks, Melissa. And next on the schedule is our guest, Megan. And Megan, how do you pronounce your last name?
Levesque.
Levesque. Okay. And Megan is with Rocky Mountain Living Walls. And this is related to the Colton building on that entrance wall that we have in our packet later on in the meeting. But Megan's going to do a little short presentation and answer any questions you guys have on the living wall. So take it over, Megan.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me at this meeting. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here. Just to tell you a little bit about the company, I'm the owner. Rocky Mountain Living Walls is out of Fort Collins, but we serve Denver, Boulder, Loveland, Fort Collins, pretty much everything in between. We sell living wall systems. We also do preserved moss, which is what I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about tonight. And we do artificial living walls and a variety of other vertical gardening elements. Mostly commercial, but we do residential here and there as well. But I'm really excited about bringing biophilia and bringing nature to the built environment in Northern Colorado. There are so many benefits to bringing nature to our kind of antiseptic spaces that we've created as humans. And a lot of studies are being done around biophilia currently, and we're seeing some exciting results with those. So really pleased to be here. Really want to just kind of dive in, give you guys a little bit more info about the preserved moss and show you some pictures and answer any questions you have.
Thanks.
Are we ready to do that now, or is that going to be at a later point?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know who's
awesome.
driving your pictures, if it's you or Dina.
Can I share my screen and do a little slideshow?
Yes.
Great. You guys see that?
Yes, very cool.
Okay, excellent. So what we are looking at here is a preserved plant product that is 100% real mosses, ferns, and other natural botanical elements that have been sustainably harvested, preserved, and then put together into these moss art pieces. And these are totally custom made to your specifications. You can pick and choose the botanical elements and the design. We can work collaboratively on that. We can do pretty much any size or shape. We have a lot of different interesting fern elements and different colors of mosses. All of the botanical materials are covered with a thin coating of UV protectant pigment. So they have a long life. The materials come with a 5-year warranty against color failure, but there are installations that have been in the field for 10 years plus and are still going strong. The product retains that bright green vibrancy, the softness in the ferns, the movement. It really does look like a living wall without having the complexity of having to water it or having to provide any kind of special lighting. This product needs no watering, no misting, no special lighting. Even though it is real plants, it's essentially like buying a piece of artwork and hanging it on the wall. The materials are mounted on a California fire rated substrate. I'll pause here so you can see these different materials. So essentially we can create pieces up to 70 inches by 70 inches that would be fully completed with a frame and hardware and everything. Or we can do larger pieces that would come panelized, and we would come on site and do an installation where we would hang the backing material and then hang all of the individual panels together and then frame it. So those are kind of the two different options that we'll be looking at with the preserved moss, is kind of the finished completed framed pieces that are smaller than 70 inches by 70 inches, and then the larger walls. And there are a couple of design ideas that I have for you guys today for your installation. I've been given a little bit of information. I understand the area that you're looking at is about 8 feet tall by about 15 feet long. Are we still looking at that same area?
We're not 100% sure. We
Okay.
still need to verify. It's possible it's as small as 9 feet wide.
Okay.
But we'll certainly get that before we ask you to do any proposal.
Okay, that sounds great. So you can see here in this slide all of the different fern materials and different types of mosses that we do as well. We do have kind of a standard fern and moss selection that we do, but we can absolutely customize everything to your specifications. We do custom make everything. So there is a little bit of a lead time on this product. It's about 65 days in production to create these and get them installed. Installation is pretty quick and simple. Here you can see an image of what the installation process looks like for those larger walls. So essentially we'd be dropping these panels in and then framing it. We use just a really low profile 1 by 3 inch frame that can be stained to match whatever colors you guys have going on internally. Or we have a couple of reclaimed wood frames, one in gray and one in brown, that both look really nice.
Megan, we still are seeing just the first image.
Oh, you are? Okay. I'm sorry. Let's see. Let's do it this way.
That's good.
You can see this? Cool.
The scaffolding.
Yep. So this is an installation of a larger living wall. And I'll just go through some of these pictures. Did you see the image change there?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this just kind of gives you an idea of some of the different designs. Here's the botanicals that I mentioned earlier, the different ferns and mosses that you can choose. We also have a few different branch styles that can be integrated. We have some stones, and I'll show you some of those as we go along here. This would be one of the smaller framed pieces that you just hang on the wall. Something like this would be a larger installation required type size. And you can see here all the different colors of materials that can go together. Some companies like to do just the moss without the ferns, but it's totally up to you. Just kind of depends on what your styles are. Here's some kind of longer grasses, and you can see some of the white branches there. This is a pretty dramatic, just kind of mounding style of contrasting greens of the mosses. Striking and unique. And then we kind of go to the other end of the spectrum where we're putting a lot of ferns and making it feel kind of more like a forested feel, where it's a little bit natural with some of those longer materials there. One option I want to mention to you that might be a good fit for what you guys are doing is we can do multiple smaller pieces that have a design that spans across all of them and ties them together and creates kind of a cohesive connection between all the pieces. And I want to show you kind of a few of those. Here's another one of those kind of styles where the pieces are individually framed, but kind of hung together to where it looks like one larger piece. One of the advantages of doing this kind of style is that the installation is easier and less expensive because everything is just framed and ready to mount. We can just hang it on the wall. And also we can hang them with a little bit of separation as well if we want to kind of cover the same amount of wall space, but reduce the amount of material that we need to do that. We can add a little bit of a gap between each of the individually framed pieces, but still have that kind of cohesive design. So that's kind of an idea that I think might be a good fit for you guys so that we can meet the budget that you guys have set aside for this project. If that's a style that you're interested in, that's something that we can explore. Or we can just kind of continue to do that larger wall where it's just one continuous piece, like some of these other pieces. So that's kind of the basic information behind the preserved moss. You guys have any questions?
Is there do you have a price per square foot or an average or something that would give us an indication of sort of what price points there are to the ones you've showed us?
Sure. So a little bit of a difference in price would be whether we decided to go with a larger piece or whether we did multiple individual framed pieces. So that's kind of a decision that will affect the price. But for a larger piece, you're going to be looking at, with installation, around $200 a square foot. And, you know, looking at that area that we were looking originally at putting a living wall in, the 8x15, in your budget, we could do about half of that size. So we could do a 4 foot tall by 15 feet wide, or we could do an 8x8 essentially. To fit into the budget that you guys have mentioned to me in the past. Sorry, go ahead.
The picture with the wood surround and the light, that kind of, yeah. What size is that? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. If I had to guess, I'd say that's about 10 feet wide by about 6 feet tall, something like that. So that would be similar to the size that we could do in your budget. Probably a little bit bigger than that.
Now, are we still thinking about the wall of this as the background to our Superior sign?
You know, I'm sorry to interrupt, but let's keep questions just for Megan because we only have her for a minute or two. And so if we can
yeah, this is for Megan. So I was just wondering if we were to put like was it neon in front, does the heat of the neon affect the health of the moss?
What I would recommend doing if you're going to be doing a neon sign would be to make sure it's got a backing material on it to where that heat is not getting distributed to the moss. But the other thing we could do is we could do a cutout in the area that you want to have the sign so that it's got moss surrounding the signage, but behind it would be a different kind of material. We could do
And
it.
And then as far as invoicing goes, what does your company require?
Mhm. So we take for larger pieces, projects that are over $1,000, we take 50% upfront, and then we take the remainder prior to delivery. And we provide images of your pieces for approval prior to installation so that you know exactly what you're getting. If you want any changes, we can make those before they leave the shop.
And then just the $200 per square foot, is there a cheaper option, like less ferns?
That is kind of the base. That's kind of the base design that we're working with. That is up to 40% fern coverage, 60% mosses, your choice of botanical materials. That includes the branches, there are 3 different branch styles. And I believe Dina has the information packet PDF that shows all of the different design options, but I'd be happy to send that to the group as well, if
Okay.
you'd like to review those. But yeah, essentially that's the base price. And so again, some of the ways that we can reduce that number is by doing the individually framed pieces that would go together and removing that installation part. If you guys have a handyman at the community center or general contractor or something like that, we could work with them to get that installed and then bring that price down a little bit.
And then how much, if we did the separate pieces, how much square footage do you think we could cover with our budget?
That is something that I would have to put pencil to paper to get an exact number for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Megan, how durable is this? Because where is proposed to hang or to be installed is right on the entrance wall.
Okay.
What if lots of little kids and people come up and touch it all the time?
It definitely is a delicate product. It doesn't stand up to handling very well. We will provide you with a repair kit to where if someone were to just take a chunk of moss, and pull it off with their hand, we would provide replacement moss pieces so that you could just, with a simple adhesive, replace that particular area. But if you are looking for something that is similar to a living wall look and feel, but it is more robust, we have a artificial living wall product that I mentioned to Dina previously. That is out of the UK. It's a very realistic and lifelike artificial living wall. It's got 16 different plant varieties that go into it. And that would be about half the cost of the preserved moss or the living walls that we were originally discussing. I'd be happy to show you some images of that if you would like to see while we're here today.
Sure.
Okay.
May I just ask a silly question?
Sure.
So the preserved moss is real moss that's been preserved, and then the artificial is artificial. Is there a big difference between the two?
There is.
Aesthetically?
The artificial is actually a plastic plant that is on a metal wire so that they can be oriented and fluffed out, whereas the moss is actually real plants that have been preserved. So let me just show you some of these.
I guess I'm just thinking that a preserved real plant might look artificial, but I haven't seen the product.
It
so
really doesn't. It looks and feels alive. The preserved moss product is a very, it's intended to basically look exactly as it did before it was pulled out of the ground and mounted onto the backing. We take painstaking care in making sure that everything looks alive and realistic. And I also have a sample if you guys would like to see it in person. I also have a display down at the International Design Collection building in Denver. If you'd like to see the preserved moss in person, that's a place where you can go and see it. That is idcbuilding.com, and they have regular business hours if you want to pop in and take a look. But I also have samples of that moss, and I also have samples of this artificial living wall product that I'm showing you right now as well. This is a really neat product. It's out of the UK. It really is, looks very realistic. It's got a variety of different color options for foliage. If you wanted to do, I think I showed you the lavender before. We can do pinks and whites to kind of.
Just seeing your
Yeah.
JPEGs right
Yeah,
now.
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, let me share this again. You see that?
No picture yet, Megan. Just
Okay.
There we
there it
go.
goes. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Is this in Barcelona? Is that where you said it was?
It's out of the UK.
No, but the example.
The photo, these
Yeah.
are let's see, this one that I showed you originally was, I think this is Barcelona
Okay.
on the patio here. It's indoor, outdoor, UV rated, freeze thaw rated. I know we're going to be indoors with this product. Here's the lavender that I mentioned. And this also can wrap around. This would be absolutely fine with the neon signage over top of it. You can see here some of the detail of the ferns and dracaenas and some of the different colors and textures. And even on a large scale, there's no repetition of the patterns of plants and colors. It just really looks, it looks like real organic growth.
And it's not as delicate.
It is very robust. It is a plastic plant material with metal behind it. It's on a powder coated lightweight metal grid behind it with zip ties that connect all of the plant materials individually, hand tied to the backing material. It's very dense and full. There's no growing in period like there would be with a living wall. Looks kind of great from day one. So this would be a less expensive option that would stand up to having people brush against it. You know, if people grabbed a hunk of it and pulled, they're only going to get some of the little tips coming off, and we can provide you with replacement materials too if there was ever an issue. And obviously no water, no light, no maintenance needed other than occasional dusting with a anti-static brush or a hair dryer.
And would you still be involved in the design process?
Yes, I would, absolutely. So essentially there's the kind of the base panel that we have in 3 different layouts that we put together to create the walls. And then we have the color and texture boxes that we can add on top of that were some of the color flowers that I mentioned earlier. There's also long grasses and ivies and some other kind of texture related options there as well to kind of personalize it. These are available on a really short lead time. I could have these in within a couple of weeks. Again, on this product, we would take a full payment up front because it is such a short time to deliver and install it. Comes with a product warranty, labor warranty for installation. We wouldn't need any kind of permitting or any building codes to be addressed here. It's just very lightweight, simple, fire rated, and just looks great.
And so this is more of kind of a plant-based. Do they have this material that looks like moss?
No, this is the Vistafolia product that I'm showing you is really just the ferns and plants that you're seeing here in these images.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
I just had one more question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So on the the preserved moss, there was a very nice, the picture showed a very nice sort of finish, whether it was the wood surround or framing.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that still available in this product?
Oh, we could certainly do some, a custom frame if you want to. We don't typically frame it. Here's an image that shows it with a frame. It's really not necessary. We can do a live edge of the plant material around the exterior, and that because the plant material can be positioned because it is, a wire underneath each one of those individual pieces of plant material. We can kind of bend that and fluff it out around the edges so that it just looks like plant material and you don't see any of the backing or anything. Or we could do a frame like we've show here that could match some of the elements that you have existing already in the building.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And Megan, you have samples that we can look at too.
I sure
right?
do.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can
Thank you
mail
so
them
much.
too. So that
Oh, okay.
we can do a contactless handoff for our sample. So
Awesome. Thank you. And if we choose to go this direction, I'm assuming that you and Dina can work together to do basically a presentation to the Board of Trustees.
absolutely. So
Okay.
Dina has mentioned you guys are going to be taking something to the board in December. I can
Right.
put together a detailed proposal that shows all of the information about the material and would have pricing information and something that you guys can just turn around and hand off to them. That would be a complete package of all the information that they would need to make a decision.
All right. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Thank you, Megan.
Oh,
We
you're so
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. guys.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Dina.
On to new business. On the agenda, item 6A. As a part of the master plan, we are, we have been talking about this for a while, putting together a creative roster. So Dina, you want to fill us in where we are on that and kind of
Sure.
vote on what we want to do to get this started, how it's structured, basically.
Sure. Yeah. So this is, I know this is something you guys have been talking about even before I got here. So I just want to assure you that even though you've been talking about it for a long time, it takes very, very short time to implement. So what I'm proposing is that we do a call for entries for people to join our roster. It's a free entry to anyone who wants to submit their portfolio, and it can be for multimedia. So it can be for any type of artwork, whether it's performance art or video or paintings or what have you. So every person that submits their portfolio would be able to self-select what media they go into. And then we would maybe leave it open for 30 days or something like that, so that we have plenty of time to promote it and get people interested. It is using the call for entry system that we have already used in the past, and I've used for years and years and years. So it's very user friendly, and for the artists and creatives to submit their portfolios. It costs $500 to do a call for entry on callforentry.org. And so we would do the call for entry, we would receive the submissions, and then the group of you could do several different things with the list. So you can either jury it and you can decide, okay, we want to make sure we have 50 painters on the list. So let's jury in 50 painters. Or you want to make sure you have a certain number from every media. Or you might decide you just want to keep everybody on the list. And so therefore you have this big list of artists who we would go to whenever you have a project and you want to do an invitational. Let's say you want to pick 10 artists to give you proposals for a mural, then we would just find the 10 artists already in our roster. Of course, if you didn't find the artists in your roster for a particular project, then you go back out to the world and you do a call for entry or an invitational again. So it's very flexible in how we use the roster. It would allow us to do invitationals faster because we already have a list of artists who are interested in working with us and we already have their portfolios on hand. So the way a roster would work is you would probably do up update the roster, maybe not once a year. I think we'd see how the first year goes, and maybe we would maybe use the roster for 2 years. So just the longevity of it, I would guess that we would probably want to redo it again every other year, just to refresh it. And again, it doesn't preclude you from doing a call for entry or an invitational at any time for any project. It's just a nice list to have to promote our projects, to get artists interested in what we're doing, and then to find them real fast. If we have a real fast project we need to get off the ground. So I guess the question is tonight, would you like to do the callforentry.org method and try to get that launched before the end of the year?
Yeah, I think so.
Do we have the budget to pay for that?
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. It's still in our budget to do this part of our master plan goal 5, which is, don't tell me, elevate creative capital.
Any
I've
other
got a
thoughts
question
or
around,
discussion?
I've got a question around process, if that's okay. So can we add in artists that we've worked with like over the past year or two, and ones that we've already liked, so they're already sort of like grandfathered into the list?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things we would want to be sure to do is ask them. So I would personally call them and ask them to submit their portfolio, so they're in the same technology platform as all the other artists, and they're not separate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And does this?
And then moving forward, like for the ones that we're kind of looking at right now, say, and then moving forward when we're for whatever else project that we do, are we going to be asking people if they'd like to be added to the list in case they've not been on the list?
Sure. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
And then does the call for entry, the $500, does it store the list of the artists in there? So we can,
That's a good question. I have things on there from when I was a consultant, and they're still on my profile in callforentry.org. And so, I've been with you guys for a year and a half. So I'll find out. That's a great question. But regardless, even if they don't store it for us, we download everything. So we get the copies of the JPEGs and the resumes, etc., that were submitted.
and how long does that $500 entry fee, once you've placed it, does it go for 1 month, 6 months, a year?
So if we decided to do our call for entry, it could be open as long as we wanted. We just pay the fee one time. So it's for the service for one call for entry is $500.
Any thoughts or discussions on how you might like to limit it or not limit it at all? Any opinions on that? I don't know. Are we going to get 5,000 artists, or are we going to get 10? And do we need to go through the list?
Well, and once we have that list, can we do a search by region? For example, if we were having an event, if we wanted a Superior resident to participate, could you do a search? Oh,
Yes, for sure. You can search by their media, their location. I mean, even their last name. You sort the data by any of those number of things.
oh, I'm excited about this. Yeah, we've been talking about it for years.
I know, and it says most simple thing to get done, and I'll get it done for you fast. So
I think I'd like to see it kept open at least for maybe 60 days. So that would be like December and January.
And then Terry, for a couple of years we've joked, but we like put that on the list of artists that we like. So do you still have that list? I mean, we might have a really long list of artists we want to invite.
I don't know that I have the names of the artists that did the proposals for us for the roundabout. But I think the things, do you still have those, Dina?
yeah, I have the spreadsheet of the 100 and however many applied. So what I would do is email them and say,
Okay.
join our roster. And the call for entry will also explain what we're going to do with their information. So we won't, we'll say we're not going to publicize your, we're not giving away your name and your addresses. We want to use this as a bank of artists to draw from for projects at any time. And so they're going to be interested in being on that kind of list.
Great.
Good.
I have another question. So once we have the call for entry open, say for 60 days or whatever, are we able to then add people as, after that? Does that make sense? Like say we do another project and we want them on the list. How does that work?
Well, that's a great point. So there's one call for entry that I know of, a colleague of mine has just a rolling call for entry open on the cafe system. And I don't know if they pay a different price, but they probably pay an annual price of some sort. So they have an open entry all the time and they review on a periodic basis the artists that are coming in. So I could find out the details of that and see if we wanted to leave ours open, call for entry for a year. Would we pay a different price than if we close it one time? We can't reopen it once you close it. But certainly if we'd said we're going to have a review, let's say we review the list every 2 months to see who's on it. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, it seems sort of like a database. Like we would want to just be able to add to it. So that would be helpful to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion items? Would someone like to make a motion to fund the $500 for the call to entry on Cafe?
So moved. That's Terry.
Okay. My motion, okay. I move to budget $500 for a call to entry on Cafe.
Second.
And Terry second. Any more discussion? All right, should we go ahead and do a roll? Oh, wait, Terry?
No, voting.
Oh, okay. Nina, you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Rachel,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Kate.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, under new business still, item 6B, project promotion. And we have actually talked about this for quite a while too. And the good news is Dina has it organized in a way that we can have a digital brochure on the town website, and it will list all the different art and that type of thing, however we feel that would best serve us. And the other thing we've talked about, especially after we do the winter light display, to send around a postcard, basically a promotional postcard, because in many ways, I think a lot of people around town don't really have that awareness that the really neat stuff that's happening is a part of CAPS. So it was a twofold promotion of what we're doing. And Dina, you want to go and kind of touch on that and what you found and what you suggest?
Sure. So actually it's been since September now, we've been trying to get this on the agenda, but you know how busy we've been. I called the graphic designer I've been working with on all the event stuff that we've done this year and got an estimate from her to do a brochure that would be for all the artworks in town. And it could be available digitally on our website for people to download and print themselves. And then we could print out a certain number if we would like to and leave some at town hall. Maybe even the Louisville Library might be a spot, but I think they're closed right now. So, you know, those are the kind of places you would normally put a brochure like this. Certainly when the community center opens, we could have brochures there. I guess right now, the only place I can think of is town hall, but regardless, we could do a digital version to print out on your own. So I have the quote from her is for $1,530, and she would give us 2 design options. So they're kind of like 2 directions. She'd say, here's some design ideas. And then you would give her feedback, or probably a subcommittee would give her feedback on which design direction to go. And then she will do 1, 2, 3 versions of edits as needed. And then she'll draft the final version with all of our print specs needed, and then provide us the digital copy. And then we take it and go get it printed if we ever decide to do that. So that is the question. Would you like to do a brochure? And since it's under $2,000, I don't have to get more quotes, I believe. I think it's 2,000 and above. I have to get more than 1 quote.
Is this a one and done, or is this a template that we can use to, if we want to promote 2 things during the year or something like that?
This is a one and done. So she designs it. We give her the information. We make sure she has, the points on the map right, and she'll design the map into it. And then, we have to provide all the text and everything and all the imagery that we want her to use. So yeah, it's a one-time brochure.
And what happens in that same vein, like in January? So we add in 3 interesting pieces of experimental art for the art and mobility path. And what if we do a cool painting down the sidewalk on the path, what we talked about. And then the Rogers Farm has a big interactive piece of art play equipment. So right away, there's potentially, 4 or 5 different things to add in. How do we integrate that?
Well, now that's a good question. Let me just see if maybe, because she's offered us 3 design edits with this price, maybe we could use that over the year. So if we don't need 3 edits, because that actually seems like quite a lot to me. I feel like once you work with somebody and you give them the accurate text, then there really isn't a whole lot of editing after that. So maybe we could ask her if perhaps 2 of the edits can be done later in the year.
I think it would be, with all of our temporary, our budget for temporary art, it seems like a brochure that we, pay for and print is going to be out of date pretty soon, and we would want to keep the excitement going. So maybe we have 1 brochure and then like a postcard template that we could send out quickly as we want to feature different things. But I think we're just doing so many things. It seems like we want to we don't want to be tied down to 1 print.
Yeah, some way we can update it. I know my neighbor was so funny because his grandkids were in town last week and he wanted to take them around to Found the Prairie Dogs. And so kind of it's sort of in that, well, where do I go and where's this map, and that kind of thing. And or if you're walking down the art mobility path, well, where do I find these things? So it would need to be updated somehow, however that would look.
Is the postcard thing separate? Because I think that would be really helpful. Just because we have so much stuff going, we could send them now and then. It'd be kind of fun to get something in the mail that's not digital, something different.
Yeah, a postcard. So that is a different thing. Thanks for mentioning that. So the postcard would be, I'm just looking up the quote because for some reason the number is escaping me. Sorry.
And we did those before, and we've sent those out a number of times. The big, what are they, by 5 by 7 inch or whatever, when it was the main event and that kind of thing. Similar look and feel to that, but just send it out.
Yeah, that would be Just to do a postcard, you know, the big size postcard would be $300 for the design.
That's the design.
Yep, and then she gives us the printing, the digital copy, and we go to do the printing ourselves.
I
Is there
like,
someone-
I like the idea of a brochure and then a postcard that maybe that we do 2 or 3 times a year.
Well, the brochure would have to be updated at least once a year. And if it's digital on the website, then hopefully that would be a lot less cost to come back and update it. Yes, ma'am. Come here.
I guess it's just worth offering. Is it, can we buy a template? Do we have the staff power to update those?
Well, I think that's why we would have to hire a graphic designer, because while I'm an artist, I'm definitely not a good graphic designer. And I can use the programs, but I don't have the, you know, vision for nice looking compositions when it comes to graphic design, stuff like that.
Well, it'd be kind of nice if it always had the same theme, and for branding purposes that carried through from the, you know, the brochure that people can look at and print if they want to the postcard now and a postcard later on. So it kind of always looks the same a little bit. That would
There
be kinda
could
nice.
just be a small area that says what's new, right? So it's basically the same for our existing things. And then our small area would be what's new. And then I completely agree. I've always thought that old school mail postcards are really important in this community. And so I think that would be how we get interest in our newest, biggest installations, like the light installation. And then Dean has been doing a bang up job of, you know, the social media with the updated look at our prairie dogs and things like that. So it keeps that fresh. But I think those are all good ideas.
I'm kind of the
is
mindset
it-
of pushing people towards the web or social and keeping it fresh that way. And I mean, if we're going to be utilizing like a postcard, I mean, that might be the better route to push people towards a very editable website or social network. And then because I'm in agreement as well, Debbie, that people just don't know necessarily where to go and how to access that information, and to have it like more easily updated, and to focus more on like, you know, the postcards would be very much like pushing people towards those digital offerings rather than like, you know, too much information on the postcard and having it too busy. I mean, maybe it's like one piece of art, but like the general gist of it is to push people towards the digital. So we can get more people signed up for newsletters, signed up on Facebook, signed up on that, so they know where to go.
When we have our art mobility path, though, I want a paper map. What I would want. I take all those bike maps and I post them on my bulletin board because I'm visual. But
You and my husband, he goes out for a bike ride.
That's something that could certainly be done, you know, like on whether it's a digital download of a map or like on an app or something like that, to make it like super accessible for folks who want that to print it or whatever. You know, I'm just thinking about like, do we really need 20,000 postcards for a map, or can we just put it online as a really awesome PDF and have people print it off as needed?
So David, you're thinking more towards the brochure and not the postcard 1 or 2 times a year? What?
Well,
kinda
you know,
clarify
listening
that?
to this discussion, I really do like the idea of doing, maybe we do 4 postcards and we do one every quarter, and we just, you know, get people used to looking for it in the mail after the first quarter, second quarter, everything. I like that idea a lot. And then driving them to the website, because then we are just updating our map on the website all the time. And if you're somewhat savvy with the computer, you can print a map from Google. You just click the print button and it opens up, you know, a PDF for you to print.
It's way more efficient that way. And
Yeah.
I've gone through like 2 or 3 different transitions between like dealing with older audiences who might not necessarily, you would think that they might not necessarily want to move away from paper, but it was an easy, super easy transition, saved all the companies much more money, and was very, and then you were able to easily target the demographic and the audience whenever you'd want to digitally, because you had more people signed up and you had more people, it was just like more targeted than paper, in general.
When I'm thinking of a postcard, I'm not thinking of a lot of information. Just like one thing, like we're doing the light installation, more information here or whatever, so that we can get people interested, but then they can go look further, or else people won't read it if it's really overwhelming. But like a reminder, 4 times a year would be great.
For our events especially, it's important.
Yeah. Listings or save the dates or something like that. But the biggest driver is just to get people signed up.
So Dina, following this discussion, do we need to do both the graphic design, $1,530, and the map, and then we can kind of tweak how often we do it and how we use it? Or you've talked to her, what's this look like so we know what we're voting on?
It sounds to me like the group likes doing the postcards, and we can use that as our main source to drive people to the map, which will be online that we can edit easily. So I guess my thought is maybe the map isn't quite needed yet until maybe after next year. Maybe after next year when we have the art path mapped out and some artwork along it. And then all these other things going up, the Ormond Roche Trailhead, all of those things we can put those on a map. Plus we'll have a community center open. We'll want a brochure at the community center, and we can print out, 100 of those. And then when those go out, then I'll print another 100, or, they may last a while at the community center.
Maybe we can work with Strava or Google Map or do something like that too, where we can add a lot of that in there for people to get it digitally while they're riding.
I think
Or walking.
Well, and Rachel would have a really good idea on that. So it sounds like table the actual brochure, the $1,530 for the graphic artist for the brochure, and just go with one postcard right now. Is that a direction you guys are thinking?
Well,
Yeah,
are
As
you
long as we have a
referring
place
to?
for people to go from the postcard, sure.
Unless we can get just a template now, we can pay for the template now and then edit it, the next 3 postcards, and then get another refresh maybe down the road. But to pay for one postcard seems like we could get a few more uses out of it.
Well,
Yeah,
if
I'm not
she's
so sure her $300 fee is gonna let us update her postcard. It's kind of copyrighted in that sense. So they have their own rules of what you're allowed to do with their design. So it's only $300 to do a postcard. So I would suggest
bad.
that
yeah,
we
just
have her do 3 or 4 postcards this year. And they all have a common element, but they could all be different to catch your eye in a different way.
So are you saying 3 to 4 different postcards for the same? I guess this year's almost up.
Oh, I'm sorry. When I said this year, I meant next year. I
Okay,
feel like it's 2021 already. My
Well,
apologies.
wouldn't we want to do something though about the light show? We could do a postcard for that. That would be this year.
We could do one this year and then just plan for next year to do one every quarter or something, and see how it goes. Maybe next year we do one in March and then decide from there, do you want to do another one in the next quarter?
now, how can we budget this, Dina? Can we do a vote now and allocate 3 or 4 postcards to the graphic artist? Or,
Yeah.
is that possible, since we're trying to make sure that we use this promotion marketing budget in 2020? Can we do it that way?
Yeah, I think there's just going to be some things we have to give up for 2020,
Okay.
just because it's almost over. But we could certainly do a $300 postcard now to get out. I can ask her timeline, but if we can get it out before the lights launch in Grasso
Right.
Park, that'd be great. And then we'll just use next year's budget because we also have a promo budget for next year.
And so we're not doing, now, if you put, only because having people ask me this, and you guys know this too, looking for the prairie dogs, when they go online, can they find out wherever prairie dog is? I know that Rachel's map is amazing with that,
Yep.
but do we have
Yeah.
a way to do that?
We have
Okay.
a prairie dog map as
Map,
well.
okay,
Yeah, and it's from the same platform. It's Google Map.
okay,
So if you go to our website, it's the Cultural Arts webpage here. And you scroll down to what's happening. You'll see.
oh, that's cool, I didn't see where
just
you
a little
added in
further
the,
down, but here it is. You can say, it says find the prairie dogs.
okay,
Now, our website, it's not very art design friendly. So we have to pretty much do that format you just saw where I kind of scrolled, and then you find the link. But here's the link to all the prairie dogs, and it's a Google map too.
Where is the map of like the actual prairie dogs on it? There's like, it looks like a trail map and it has pictures of all the prairie dogs, because that one's really awesome, but it's hard to find.
You said the map with the prairie dogs actually on it?
Yeah, it has like all the different prairie dogs on the side, and then it has like just a really general map.
Oh, that's not ours. That is Dara McCool's on her personal website.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
and I'm assuming we can't, when we add in art, can we do the same thing? Like, at some point in time, given the fact we have 5 projects coming up, like the bollards, for instance, can we have a map that if you're out riding your bike, oh, be sure to swing by and see the Eyes Have It, that type of thing. When we put the sculpture in front of the sports stable with the 250 shovels or whatever, like the wings, can we have a map that shows everything on it? Or is that not possible?
Is that a question for me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Sorry, I had somebody deliver me pizza, so I got sidetracked for 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think we've made those. I mean, Rachel made the map. I think we just you could just make your own map. But maybe, the town could register the landmark on Google Maps and have a photo of it so that it would show up in a map like Starbucks does.
well, you can actually do that.
Yes.
Well, what about you take a picture of the code and it brings something up? Remember we did that when we were for the community engagement.
The QR code.
QR code. I don't know how it works, so.
Yeah, you could do that if you had more info to give, but you have to have a sign that, has that printed on it, but.
Okay, well,
All
any more
cameras and
discussion?
web browsers now have a place for easily to access a QR code.
Say that again, David.
All your phones, like iPhones and whatnot, like if you turn your camera on and you just like hold it over hold it over something, it automatically opens it in like Safari. Like if you just hold your camera in front of a QR code now. It's
Okay.
easy.
I think we
Okay.
should definitely think about QR codes as we get farther down the road with like the art path and the wayfinding and all that stuff. I think we should bring that back up.
Well, it sounds like the general trend is to do the postcard now because of the fall light art show. And then come spring next year, really get an idea of some way we can map and promote the art, whether it's on the art mobility path, whatever that looks like. But that's really the question that we're getting from people. Well, I don't know where any of this is and how do we find it and that kind of thing. So I'm assuming, or it sounds like postcard looks good in terms of the brochure. Put that off until next spring. Any opinions on that? And if so, we'll need to vote on the postcard. Do we need to vote when it's only $300, Gina?
I think that's a Leslie question, but I think anything that has to do with money.
Has to be voted on? Okay. All right,
I would like to make a motion to approve funding $300 to hire a graphic designer to make a postcard.
I second. Any other discussion items, what you guys want to see? Okay, Dina, do roll call.
Yes. Melinda,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
and Debbie.
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is item 6C, still under new business. And this is just a brief review of what Dina did find out from the art maintenance, basically, and it's never been done. And it's kind of interesting. So Dina, you want to pull this up? We don't have to take action on it really, because it's in our budget this year. If you can kind of just show us what, super brief, because I think we all went through it. I'm assuming because it came
Yeah.
through, we all saw it.
Just a quick few points.
Okay,
All of the bronzes that we have were put in 2000, and they've never been cleaned. It's not a normal practice. So they have a variety of different issues with them, and you can see in the notes from the bronze conservator what they're suggesting that we do. I'm now waiting for their estimate to do the repairs, the washing and the cleanings. Some of them that have scratches, you'll see, those are probably going to be bigger ticket items. Those that have failing clear coat, it's called the lacquer. Obviously they're failing because they haven't been cleaned or protected for 20 years. So he's going to give us an idea of what to do. You know, for example, like this is in really not so good a shape. You probably can't tell from not seeing it when it was brand new, but I'm sure it was much more spectacular than this dirty, dingy feathers here. So I will be getting an estimate from them, and I don't believe there'll be any vote needed, and I'll confirm this with Leslie, but this is just maintenance that we have budgeted every year. I believe about 9,000 or 10,000 a year to do maintenance on all the artwork. And that won't be something that we'll have you guys vote on unless it's the annual maintenance budget. So I will just annually or every other year do a condition assessment of all the artworks and figure out what needs to be done that year and just keep you updated as we go along every year.
awesome. And again, back to that map in the brochure.
Mhm.
And especially once we move the coal carts, refurbish the coal carts, and then next year sometime refurbishing the sunflowers, include those all on our map and art about in Superior. I know that Rachel has them all on her very cool map, but. Okay, any other questions?
Dina, quick question. How long would it take him? Ouch, sorry, my cat didn't like being held. How long would it take him to clean everything?
It depends. So I'm waiting for his estimate report, and the items that have failing lacquer will hopefully not have to be removed and taken to the shop. So that's the biggest problem is if they can do some of this work on site. The patinas as well, some of the patinas you'll see in the report are just poor. I mean, that's the best way to put it. They're in really poor condition. And when that happens, they have to be removed and they get stripped all the way down to the bronze and then repatinaed. So that could cost, for a life-size figure, that could cost upwards of $3,000 to do just one sculpture. And that's the problem with never having cleaned them. They get hot waxed every year. and that covers up the patina and the bronze. It closes the pores of the bronze so that the weather and the elements, and some of them are being watered on by the non-potable water in the parks. So that destroys the clear coat and the patina. But the wax is supposed to protect them. And so they've never been waxed. And you can really
gracious.
tell. So they're in pretty bad shape. Most of them. So I don't know. I mean, if it were something that's in good shape, it could take, 3 hours to do one of the little kits.
But say like they could all be done, hopefully, not having to do major stuff, but they could all be done, say, the first quarter of next year.
Possibly, yeah. It just depends on their schedule because they're really quite busy as well. They're a bronze foundry, and they're in Loveland, so that's a little bit of travel time. But they can schedule us in as their work opens up, and if they could get them all done within a week, all of them, that'd be great.
I was just thinking that could also be something that we could do our postcard, maybe the next year, saying, hey, all of the bronzes have been cleaned and, whatever, go check them out and see the difference in the way they looked.
Yeah. And we do before and after pictures too. So that's always exciting.
Or
Okay,
even find out
excellent.
where they are.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. This is something that is new and different. All right, under old business, Jill, do you want to fill us in and get us all on the same page so we can vote on what to do and present to the board of trustees on December 14th?
Yes. I'm just going to open the PDF that was in the agenda, show you what we've come up with.
Oh, then give me, yeah.
How do I present?
Great way of putting that together, by the way. I mean, it's so easy just to go through it and see all the possibilities. So pretty cool.
So we've got, just to recap, I think we've gone over this a couple times, but we've got $20,000 each year. So in 2020, we would like to spend $5,000 on a neon sign. This would go in front of the living wall. The dowels, this is just to purchase the wooden dowels that the architect's rendering showed. We would just sort of match that. The hanging systems in the walls would be for future exhibits, community-based or local artist-based, that we would just have the infrastructure that we could purchase now and store in a closet until we use it. $1,000 to use on printing of the Superior Snapshots project, whether that's wallpaper or large format prints or framing and printing of wallpaper, not necessarily installation, but just give us some options there. And then a total of $15,000 for the moss wall, paying half this year and the other half next year, although we can discuss that. And then that sort of wraps up 2020. And then in 2021, we would pay the rest of the moss wall when it's ready to install. And anything left over, we would try to get as much of a mural as we can on that big south wall.
Bill, do we need to put on that sheet that you had $200 a square foot?
That was so the first company I talked to was 100 and she's 200. So yeah, there's some discussion.
I mean, I don't know if it even makes a difference, but
I think that we focus on the main budget of 15,000 and then figure out what to do from there. The $100 a square foot was the original cost that she gave me. But after I talked with her this last time, she re-looked at the systems she was going to recommend, and that's when she came up with the 200 square foot.
$200 a square foot. Do we know why it was such a huge price difference?
I think it's the moss. So she was looking at a certain moss product that originally she had just given me a window, a range, a price range.
Okay.
And So I think we put in there 100 square foot, thinking that we were gonna maybe do a 10 foot long by whatever that, the math is, but
So the only thing I'll just mention is part of a discussion point is she did say if we purchase the fake stuff that we would pay it all up front, which is not as cool as the preserved moss by any means, but only having an 8x8 framing of preserved moss anyway is kind of like half the wall. I don't know. I feel like that's the impact we were going for wouldn't be so much, but we could spend more than 20 this year because we have some extra money left over in other allocations, and then we'd have more money to spend on the mural, which we know is going to cost more than $13,000 to get the whole mural done. Anyway, just something to think about.
Do you guys have any thoughts on her different types of materials? And I will admit that I love the idea of the moss wall. A little worried about it being durable, but then again, when she talks about the other walls, they look really, really cool, but I'm kind of worried. This sounds, I don't know, it's like my mom's house. I mean, you know how she has the dusty, weird ferns that are in, you know, like, I mean, I'm taking, all of you are younger than I am, but you know, when you go into the doctor's office or even the front by the library or something, and they have the fake plastic ferns that were kind of dusty. So if you guys can kind of walk me around that, you know, really the artificial would look amazing. I'm struggling a little bit with what it is. I love the moss walls. And when you do a Pinterest or whatever and do a search for them, they're amazing. And I know we can't do a living wall because that's really expensive with the water and the plants and all that kind of stuff.
So the only other thing she offered, I'm with you, Debbie. You're not going to find an artificial plant in my house. I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it either. But
they have come a long way. But the other thing she mentioned was the sort of the prefab smaller things that we could grid together, and I think that would be with moss.
Well,
you know,
and
to me that sounds like we could buy it all now too. I'm a little worried that we're just stretched thin, and I'll just say an 8x8 wall on a 10 by 15 foot wall it's going to look like a piece of framed art, and maybe we could make it look good. And then the 13,000 to spend on, you know, $10 per square foot on the murals is also skimpy. So that's my only concern.
other ideas, everybody chime in here. I mean, on the page that in the packet that came with our agenda, page 1 is the entrance wall. And it has the 2 different ideas on there.
You know, we've got a 4-foot neon sign, 4 to 8 feet neon sign that we'll have. Just want to make sure that whatever we do is large enough that that works.
Oh, overwhelming.
What if the neon sign is up and down as opposed to a vertical as opposed to horizontal? And then the moss wall was to the side of that. That way you don't have to worry about the heat or anything, and it would take up hopefully the whole space.
Any thoughts on that, Dina? I know that you, with the, yeah, when Megan, the living wall person, said that we had to be really careful having the neon on top of the moss, the preserved moss, I had visions of like the middle of the night, the neon setting it on fire or something.
Well, so the neon is low voltage, so it doesn't really heat up. So I was kind of wondering about her answer, but the couple things I also wondered, I think when she said we needed to pay full price, she meant for materials. I didn't think she meant for the whole project up front, because no one would ever agree to that.
Oh, I thought that was just for the fake stuff that because the time frame for that was so short that they could get it in.
I would think she meant just to purchase those materials up front. You have to pay 100% for that, not for her service. Because I wouldn't pay her 100% to do anything. And now, if the contract's 15,000 and the materials are 10,000 and she needs all 10,000 up front, we could do that. But not all 15,000. So that's something we could clarify. But the question you asked is, what was your actual question, so I can make sure I answer it succinctly, because I have a couple things I could say, but probably don't need to. What was your question for me, Debbie?
Well, I just, the moss walls and the living walls I have seen are amazing and stunning.
Mhm.
Both of them are a little bit out of our price range, basically, maybe, but there's maybe a way to make the preserved moss wall work.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna go with the plastic that she says to dust, I guess I just have an uncomfortable feeling about that. And that's probably only me having been in that world of, I don't like anything that's not living.
Sort
So
of falls into Kevin's cheesy sort of stuff.
Well, right. So here's my thought. Even if we could afford the real moss, she said it's tender, and even I would want to touch it, right? Like, I'm a very tactile person. There's no way we're going to keep hands off of it. So I unfortunately think it's kind of risky to put there, even if we love it. And I love the idea of the living wall. I just don't think it's practical. But I do love the panels. And so when she started talking about or showed us some of those inspirational pictures, I was thinking of the head wall, right? Because then, we could do something up there where people would not be touching it. Does that help us with, our budget now? And what do we do, like, behind the neon? I don't know.
Are you talking about the south wall or the green?
No, the head wall kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, so, because it's really not that high up. I think you could still kind of see it, but, and then that would be nice for the panels, but that doesn't help us. Like, we don't have any other ideas to go beyond the neon, but I do love the moss. So maybe we switch gears and we put it on the header. Or whatever we're calling that. What are we calling the green wall? Is that
the green wall.
It was the bulkhead, you're right.
The bulkhead.
bulkhead? So that is away from me, so I won't be able to touch it, or anybody else. So
Melinda, what do you think of the artificial stuff?
No. Just no. It's just got schmaltz written all over it. I mean, really, like no.
I mean, the moss wall framed with, like, the light that comes over and shines down, so it really does look like a painting could work, but then I just don't see how the neon works with that.
No.
But like Terry said, we could still do both and still take up as much wall as we could. They're just separate.
And Dina, you don't have her pictures of those panels, right? Only Megan.
Right, she had those, and so I would for sure, if we move forward with this, one step would be, if you guys want to move forward with this with her, with the budget, and we just maybe we have one meeting with her before she builds a proposal, and then we get the board's approval or blessing. I'm not sure if it's a vote or just a consensus or what have you, but we get their approval, and then we work with her on all the design details, like which plants and will the neon really work, and can we really fit it in so that it goes well together. And I think the biggest concern I have is who's designing this. So when you talk about the neon sign and how big it should be, or which orientation it should have, and then what's the the composition of the moss together. I really think we need to leave the design up to designers.
Mm.
And that's where I'm the most worried about this project is that we haven't quite talked about that. Who's the designer here?
Oh, whether it's the neon person or whether it's the moss person.
Right, like who's
Now-
to say the 4-foot neon is the right size? Who's gonna decide that? I think it should be a designer.
Yeah.
And
Well, the
if you,
other thing that could be done is just have Superior in that square with a painted backdrop, you know? And then do the moss, the living moss wall, like you said, on the bulkhead. And that way they're two separate things.
No,
And
and
in that case, the architect designed that look. So we have the Superior neon sign made by an artist and a mural behind it made by an artist. And the architect designed the look of that wall. So that architect would tell us how big to make the neon sign.
so, and I'm leaning toward that
Oh.
way too. I just thought it is a little upsetting that we've been thrown basically designing the interior of this community center, right? It's an overwhelming project, and we really have no business actually being designers. You know, we can pick and choose and say, ooh, that's cool, but you know, we really don't have a lot to go on right now. And I'm against the plastic stuff, but I am thinking that if we have an artist do the neon, that I think that's going to be really cool, right? And if we do paint that wall, we can just paint it something basic. We have the neon, we're going to have the dowels hanging over that. So we actually will have a focused area, even though it's not moss or a mural, so to speak. And then we could have the moss in the panels on the bulkhead wall, and then we would have the mural. That, and then we can sit with that, right, over the year because our budget is gone. And then we can see, you know, eventually, Dina, could we have an artist, you know, look at the town of Superior wall, the neon wall, and say, ooh, that really needs help. And then they come up with the idea of how to help it with a mural or whatever around it. So I'm kind of with Terry. I just think we go with the neon, and then we go with and then next year we'll have the dowels. And so that's kind of special. And then, I mean, I just love the moss, and I loved some of her designs. They were 3-dimensional, and I think it would have a lot of visual interest, even up, you know, like far away a little bit. So,
and I wonder I wonder from a durability perspective, she had a number of them that the bottom foot or whatever was basically rocks. And then she transitioned into the moss and had.
I think that was just the design.
Right,
I
but I
don't-
mean, if at some point in time, that would maybe make it a little bit more durable, because you'd have the rocks on the bottom that kids could touch or whatever, and then you get up, I don't know, 5 feet and they can't really touch the moss anymore. I'm just worried about them touching the moss, because I just can see little kids wanting to do that.
That's the reason it
So-
should be on the bulkhead.
So if we go the direction where we sort of pause on the moss and we get the neon sign, what are we proposing to the board? That it's just painted? A painted wall with a neon sign on it? Or, I mean, I feel like we need to do a little bit more presentation wise for this decision.
Dina, did your price for the dowels include painting the bottom?
No, it was just to purchase the dowels this year.
That's what I thought. So what if on those dowels hanging over the neon Superior sign, we do hire this year the artist to paint the bottoms?
Do we have enough time?
I don't know. I don't think we're going to be able to get any of the art done this year except for the neon sign, because that person is waiting on hold and eager.
Us, okay.
So the only thing that I was figuring that we'd actually be able to do this year is the neon sign guy's ready to do it. And he's an artist who you guys have seen before. I've shown his neon signs to you. His name's Scott Young. And then the Superior snapshots is questionable. We could easily probably print the grids and stuff like that, or buy the materials, do the wallpaper, and then the moss wall. Yeah, I just don't think that there's time to get an artist to do the actual dowel painting.
The bottom of the dowels.
Yeah.
The other thing that we had talked about, well, we know is going to happen. The 3 out of the 4 bus shelter artists are doing these amazing canvas and or wood panels. And maybe as kind of a placeholder, have one of those be on that wall or somewhere in the, entrance wall vicinity. Now, I don't know if that
Possibility.
throws, I don't know if that throws off. the
I
neon-
love those ideas of using that. We got to get ready for this board meeting in a month.
Right.
And we can just take out the 8,000 and say, look, we're only going to spend 11,700.
I think if we decide we want to do the moss hole, we still get part of it done this year. It'll just go on the bulkhead.
Oh, we just buy panels.
Yeah.
How about David or Kate or Christina or
Rachel.
I'm inclined to, I mean, from the onset, I definitely want to go with what we all come together with, but for the architectural drawings with the neon sign and the cool mural in the background, I thought that was pretty swanky and nice. I do like the moss, but I also enjoyed some of the photos that she had put that she brought up with, especially I think it was like a restaurant with the 3 panels up high.
Mhm.
Like that was really cool, and I thought that that could alleviate some of the issues that some of the committee members have brought up, with people touching them and whatnot, because I do like them up high because it brings some, so like that's superior, like a mural, like a colorful mural like that, and the superior sign, the neon. And I think having the neon sign up higher is going to be crucial too, because at the Boulder Theater, like our neon, even though it's like all around and up high, it breaks all the time being outside and stuff, but people break it in various ways as well. So, and it's expensive to repair. But yeah, anyway, I like it both, and maybe we can potentially do both, but just in a different spot.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Dina, question. So if we actually went with this architectural drawing on that entrance wall, do we have a muralist or something that we can present so it's not just a plain yellow wall or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that we could, just call up, to do that. The budget would, I would guess, probably be for next year though, because we can't get in to do the work yet.
What's the term for paint where it starts dark and goes light, or vice versa?
Gradation.
That doesn't sound right, but it's
Ombre.
that's what it,
Oh, the ombre, yeah.
yeah. We could do something like that behind that sign.
Yeah, you still need an artist or someone who knows what they're creatively doing to paint it though.
And we can't get in to paint it until April.
Next year. Yeah.
And we can't pay for it this year to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
So we like the moss wall, and we think it would be great on the bulkhead wall, which I agree with. So it will be up high. It will bring something interesting to that area where there's no light and no windows. Those were taken out. Is there any way we can get that started with this budget, knowing that we can't do the mural right now because we can't even access the building? So is that possible?
I thought it was, we were going to, in the budget where we got 8,000 this year and 7,000 next year.
Right. I just mean, even though it's a different location, like we're trying to do so many things, which is amazing. This is a big space and it's a lot, I think, to take on. But I would rather do maybe a few less and do them super well. Can we add in the bulkhead also? Like, because I know that wasn't really one of our focus right now. What do we think of trying to do that there?
Can we just purchase panels right now just to fill our budget?
Yeah, do they make,
decide where they go later?
Yeah, do they make big?
Now there's no window on this again, so we can't like make them look too tiny, but
That's a huge wall.
Well, I was
It's
thinking,
very big.
just do
But
it
if you
for
split them,
the,
if you split them like they did in that restaurant photo, I think it would.
Right.
yeah,
You don't have to have one large one. You just have three.
So you
medium
have 3 really big square ones.
or
even
oblong
looking down.
ones,
Or
rectangular
10.
ones.
Maybe we could add to them as time goes on, like start with 3 and then make it more and more if we have more.
But maybe they could do them linear, right? And so it would look like it was a header almost as you're walking through. And so it wouldn't be quite as expensive, but
I mean, we have, Dina, in theory, we have a bunch of money we could reallocate this year to buy panels that just get stored in a garage, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So I say we do as much as we can. It's a huge wall. We know that the impact of a lot of moss would be very cool. And this company just designs, based on our budget, the number of panels and the design in that panel, I think.
Now, do I recall somewhere they took the windows out, but they redid the wall a little bit too? Does anybody recall that, or where's it somewhere else?
Well, I know they took the windows out, but I don't know about the redesign. Question, when we start looking for a muralist for the other end of this building, could we also get that person to paint the square on the inside behind the Superior sign?
Yeah, sure. If you wanted to be the same artist and that they connect to each other, the artworks could connect somehow.
Yeah, I think it's just price per square foot, right? So we just have to kind of see what we can get.
Mm-hmm. Leslie,
on-
do you have some input on the bulkhead wall or any of the progress with the construction?
Yeah, I took a picture today and I just sent you an email. It sort of captures part of that wall. It is a big space, and I think it would work well with the moss. It might end up taking a little bit more, it's a bigger piece of real estate to cover. But this is kind of looking up onto the mezzanine. And then you can see there's a office up there with a window. There's a wall that you could use there on the side of the office. And then the bulkhead wall is to the very right. So it's really hard to
okay.
It obviously doesn't show that whole bulkhead. There's a big piece of it that's outside this picture, but there's a lot of opportunity, and I don't know. I mean, eventually you're going to have to pick a space, but maybe for the board, you just ask them. I think you can say we want to do a neon sign with a mural behind it that's in line with the concept that the architect did. And then we want to do some moss panels somewhere in the big open space. We haven't quite decided where yet, but we want to do moss panels. I don't know that the board at this point needs to know exactly where you're going to put them. I think you can show them the ideas and get their okay to move forward with finding a good location for the moss walls. And maybe we schedule a walkthrough with the artist who puts those together, and she can make some recommendations.
David, how did you find this? Did you guys see that? That's amazing. So,
No, I just searched up on Google living wall restaurants and then clicked on images.
because this is the picture she had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And
was-
Leslie, when I mentioned it before, in our packet for tonight, on the south wall, it looks more like Leslie's picture. That's how they did change it. So if you go in the page that was in the packet, I don't know if Dina can bring that up or not. It looks more like what Leslie's picture looked like. And so it's lost a lot of that angled look to it, and obviously no windows. But then if you take and look at what David pulled up for the restaurant, those would look pretty cool actually on that bulkhead wall.
Yeah, they would.
Sorry, I don't see the picture you are referring to.
Oh, are you talking about the packet that the presenter sent? Dina?
David just sent
Oh.
us a chat with the picture of the wall with the
Yeah,
three
that
big
one.
living panels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could even make them more thinner and taller
Right.
if you wanted to. And then that
And
way,
angle
like
them.
Rachel said, later on, add more to it. So start out with 3 and then maybe have 5 several years down the road.
So the only, I like this new direction. The only thing it would be really great if we could purchase this year. And so if you've got the board that has to approve it, then you have an artist or the designer come do a walkthrough, I'm worried about time.
I guess what I'm hoping is that the board can give you the go-ahead on the idea without seeing the final product.
Okay.
For both, and that could be a question that you ask on December 14th is, can you give us the go-ahead to do, the dowels, engage a artist to do the moss wall, engage an artist to do these murals, and then what do you want us to bring back to you before it's finalized? A moss wall isn't quite as what do I want to say?
Controversial.
It's not controversial, and it's not so very specific.
Right.
It's greenery. So I think that the idea of having greenery on a wall somewhere in the open space, if they can agree to that concept, you shouldn't have to come back and show them the actual design. I don't think. They may tell you otherwise. Now the mural, they may want to see, because that's a little bit more, judgmental. I don't know,
Mhm.
how people interpret those, but for like the dowels and the moss, those, I would hope they could just give you the go ahead and say, yeah, go ahead. And, we think that's a good idea.
So Dina, could we invite the Mosswall company to start designing and I don't know, just get the size, the dimensions or whatever, the budget and the dimensions that we need kind of ready to go before the board, and then.
Yeah, I think we can have a call with her, the group of us, and hash out some of the details for your comfort. And then like Leslie said, if she can give us some really great photos, maybe 3 or 4 to show them so that we can get their buy-in for the idea. We don't have to get their buy-in for the price range, but just for the idea. And then that way we can get her going on if we need to buy the panels this year, or we can give her whatever deposit we need to give her. Because we could do that certainly in the last 2 weeks of December. I think we have up until, I think, the first week of January even to submit invoices for this year.
Well, and Leslie's comment, I think, is a good one also, that a living green moss wall, there's no controversy around it. There's no, it's not like, oh, I like this or I don't like that. So I think that would also be helpful for us. And if we want to do that on the bulkhead wall. Melinda, are you good with that? Because I know we talked about fabric art on that bulkhead wall. Any thoughts about that?
Oh,
That'd
no,
make me too.
I'm thrilled with this idea. I think,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we can put the fabric, other places, and it's so huge, we might be able to, who knows? But
Okay.
I like the idea of shifting our focus. So because we are going to have the dowel art and just taking it piecemeal, and then and maybe we could just, add moss eventually. Maybe we could put the fabric above it. I mean, who knows, but
Okay.
And
I like that idea.
Owls. Yeah. Well, never mind. Yes. My answer is yes.
So
Okay, so Jill, what do you need? What else do we need on this?
Dina, tell me, do we need to approve? So the
Dina
budget,
took a little break.
oh,
We
the
need
budget set forth still stands if we want to go ahead and vote on that, or we vote on the things and not the budget just yet. I'm not sure. You tell me.
I think that makes sense. Vote on the things and not the budget. Are we okay with that, Dina?
Whoever's sharing, will you stop? And I'm just going to put the list back up just so that we can see it as we vote.
Yeah, I think if Leslie, if that makes sense to you, does that work? Or
I mean, I think you can approve, here are the things that we want on our list, and we approve spending up to this amount for all of it.
Okay.
Well, since we have 20K for this year, why not just put it as a total of 20K in the list of the items?
I think that's perfect.
Yeah,
But
that
if,
makes
what
sense.
if we want to spend 30K? Could we do that?
Well, that would be nice,
Could
but
we do a December meeting with that?
Oh.
Put a
And you're-
range on there. Don't back yourself into a corner. Put the list up there and put a range of 20 to 35,000.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. Good point. Dina. I think Dina
It's
threw it
art,
off.
so I think it's hard to pin down the cost of art.
Okay.
You're trying to
Do
do
a
a good
range.
job and find unique, creative, quality art. If it costs $1,000 or $2,000 more than you think it's going to cost, it shouldn't hold you up.
Oh, good point. I'm writing this down.
And then I think that's a great idea. And then we can have the artist, when she gives a presentation, give different renderings. And so the board can see what spending an extra 5,000 would look like, if it might, go to the peak.
And gear it towards that bulkhead wall.
Right.
Because even in 3 weeks from now, the progress they've made, if we can get in there with the artist and take other pictures, then she can design those proposals around that. So, Dina,
Can I
exactly.
add something real quick?
Yes.
The December 14th board meeting has the most stuff on the agenda than any board meeting we've had all year. So
make it fast.
Well, you want to get their approval for Orman Roche, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a specific piece of art that they have to approve.
Right.
This presentation is more about getting their approval to move forward, and they're not really giving you approval on specific pieces of art. These are not final presentations that you're giving them. So, I would say
Go fast. With bullets.
I don't want to cut your presentation short to the fact where it loses, its impact, but don't drag it out. Don't give them we don't need to go into the nth degree, because they're
Right.
not picking the art at this point in time.
Well,
They're
and
picking.
we want it, whatever that, if it's 5 minutes or whatever it is, we want them engaged and interested and excited. It's almost like
Right.
we're selling. It's almost like we're selling what we're doing. This is kind of our price range, and kind of almost
give
our-
us the go ahead, like give us
Yeah.
the power to move forward
approved to
then-
move forward. Okay.
and tell us what you want us to bring back before it's finalized. Do you want us
Okay.
to bring back the murals? They're probably going to say yes. Do they need to see the neon? I'm not sure if they need to see the neon. I'm hoping they don't want to see the moss wall, but maybe, they'll have to tell you that.
Okay. Got it. I wrote all this down.
Sorry, I
Obviously-
know you guys have a lot of stuff going on, but it's going to be a marathon night.
Well, and you have all new trustees too, which makes it hard. So
We will
mean,
have a
you-
couple new
yeah,
ones.
two new trustees, which makes it harder. All right, so do we need to, since it's recommendations, do we need to vote on this? And I think that what's on that page, budget recommendation looks good.
Okay, I think let's go ahead and vote on the things and then that range of budget, and I think then we can move
Okay.
forward.
All right,
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the items that are on the list that Jill provided. Be approved for the Colton building and for us to make that presentation to the board on the 14th.
I second. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay. I was just going to say at a range of 20 to 30,000.
Yeah. I second.
okay, any other discussion on this? Christina, any ideas? I mean, you have such a great eye for this stuff. Any opinion?
No, Christina's not on.
Yeah, she's right there. I see her.
Yeah,
Ah,
no, I think.
sorry. I didn't know you had joined us.
I'm like, she's right there.
Yeah, I haven't said much, but I agree with what you guys have been saying. I don't really have anything to add at this moment.
Okay. Dina, you want to call roll call to vote on, do we need to clean up the motion a little bit, or should we just go on the page for the budget recommendation page that was listed in the agenda? For these items?
I think I'm good. I think I have to approve the recommendations to present to the Board of Trustees on December 14th and approved to spend up to from 20 to 35K.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, Dina, you want to do roll call?
Sure. Rachel,
Oh, it's her husband's, oh no, she's still there.
Yes, no, I'm here.
2 minutes till birthday. David,
So,
okay,
Yeah.
Melinda,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes,
Jill,
Yes.
Melinda.
Oh, yes.
okay, awesome. Motion passes. Good work on this, guys. It's kind of nice to have it narrowed down. All right, item 7B on the agenda under old business. These are for the bus shelter arts, and we need to review but vote on 4 designs. And as you saw in Dina's email, the really cool part about this is that 3 out of the 4 artists are going to give us a piece of original art that goes along with the bus shelter. So we can use those in the Colton building, which is pretty amazing. All right, Dina, you want to take over? You and Terry go through all this?
Go ahead, Terry.
Well, if you want to move up to the first artist, Mr. Bates. Yeah, this is going to be on across from Purple Park and Pitkin. And to me, I think this is the one that I like the best out of all of them. And so I'm really, really excited that he's doing this on a canvas that we can use in the Colton building. He's just done some amazing things.
Do you want me to go to the next one, or do you want to talk about this one, or?
No, I mean, I just like the idea of the fact that it's got the flat irons in the background and the bridge and all. I just really, really like it. So, but we can look at all of them and then we can go back and talk and make some decisions or what have you.
Okay.
So, let's go to the next one for Miss Casper. This one will be on the other side of Rock Creek Parkway and Pitkin. And she gave us 2 options, and both associated with Purple Park. I think that's kind of cool, but I like the other one better, but that's my 2 cents worth.
I agree.
Which was the other Katie one?
That one. I think that, I don't know if it's the colors, and of course she used the same colors in both of them, but I just liked the picture of the pond.
rather than the bus shelter.
Yeah,
Well, especially because the other one is an actual rendering of not architectural, but an actual, oh shoot, like infrastructure, right? So
yeah,
that you would have pieces of infrastructure across the way. So I agree. I like the pond.
yeah. And then we have, now she unfortunately is not giving us or providing an actual canvas or anything of that nature. This is going to come to us digitally. So that's too bad, because that would have been pretty to have been on a canvas in the Colton building. Then Mr. Crozier, he will be at the Coleridge Drive across from Autry Park. And his will be an original on a board. So
Yeah, and
that's
this-
another,
This location is the one that I needed to update you about. It probably should have done that as the first item, but since we're on it, the other location at 88th has this really wonderful pond behind it. And so if we put an art wrap in this bus shelter, it's going to cover up the pond, the view of the pond. So I wanted to suggest that we do a different bus shelter. And I'd like to show you that picture just because I didn't know about the pond until I was standing in the bus stop. Where did I put that?
Well,
Uh-oh.
and that is where the herons are, for you guys that know that corner of Rock Creek Parkway and 88th.
Here it is.
yeah. I guess because we had talked about it, I forgot about that. But yeah, that's the park, or the pond behind it.
Mhm.
So I just thought, since I had never stood there until this day, to see this great view, it's kind of a shame to cover it up with, I know it's art and fabulous too, but it is the
Well-
only bus shelter that has this great view behind it.
What we may want to do whenever we decide to do this particular shelter is not do it on the back, do it on the sides.
Yeah, that's a great idea here. In the front, you could even do the front.
Yeah,
Or
So
maybe,
Dina, what the thought is that we don't do anything with this one for now, and we're switching that one to a new location.
yeah, and I thought the next best spot would be across from Autry Park because all the other bus shelters are in pairs,
Right.
one
Yeah.
across the street from the other.
so anyway, he's the one that's doing the original on the board, and he's got two options, the goat and then the rabbit. This was the line drawing guy. And the goat has a tendency, or at least my thought was that fits us because we have the goats here.
I like the goat.
I like the goat too, because our mowers.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last one, Mr. Maxey, is on the east side of Rock Creek Parkway at Autry Park. So that'll be catty-cornered from the other one. And this is a rough concept, but basically it's birds that are in the area. And with a nod to the things that are done in Autry Park, you've got a skate helmet, you've got a leash for a dog, you know, various things of this nature. So I just kind of thought that was really cute.
And
That's what
when
the
you look at
design
this, how he does it is so cool.
Yeah. So I think all of these fit the thing that we were talking about with regard to Superior now. And are not history per se by any means, but I think they bring some fun and some whimsy to what we're doing. Not that the others haven't done so as well, but I think these come across more so. So do we need, on the two that have two options, we probably need to vote on which ones we want to choose out of that. And then do we have to vote in mass for all of them, or just, how do you
I
want to
think we
do that?
can come to consensus if there is a consensus on, it kind of sounded like there was. Christopher Bates had two and Katie had, no,
No,
Katie had two
Katie
and
and
Daniel.
Daniel had two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Katie Casper, you guys sounded like you really like the Purple Park Pond.
Yeah. That's my choice, but
Yeah.
I agree.
Anybody disagree with that? Christine or David?
I like the pond.
Okay, Christina?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so Katie Casper is Purple Park Pond. What about Daniel Crozier? Rabbit or goat?
goat.
I also like the goat better. Not the suit and stuff is. I like the goat not wearing anything.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And it's cool that he's eating, looks like he's eating the grass from the mowers.
Yeah, I liked the goat better.
Okay, any objections? We're good. Kate?
I'm good. I like
not,
the
I'm
goat.
not gonna like fight it, but I actually like the rabbit better.
Well, yeah, I like the picture of the rabbit. It's a little bit, the coloring is a little bit more vibrant. And I
just
like the
think that-
headphones. It's just the suit is kind of,
Yeah. The goat just seems to fit us since we've had goats here.
Yeah, I like the goat. too.
Rabbit also has human hands, which is kind of funny to me. Or gloves. Maybe they're just gloves. But anyways, not what a rabbit has. I guess it's clearly not real.
I like the goat. Okay, so
Sorry,
consensus is
David,
we all
you're
like the goat.
outnumbered.
No, I like the goat. All right, so we have 4 designs. Is there a motion to accept those 4 designs?
Do we need to also make a motion to approve the new location?
Yeah, I think it's,
Yeah, would it be better to do that? Okay.
And then
yeah,
the-
but we can do it all together in one motion or something.
now, just because I'm taking notes, the new location is 88th and Rock Creek Parkway, or that's where it's moving from?
That's where it's moving from.
Where is it moving to?
It's moving to across from Autry Park.
I'll make a motion that we accept the 4 designs that we talked about and the movement of the location to Autry Park, across the Rock Creek Parkway at Autry
I'll
Park.
second.
Any other discussion? Okay, Dana, you want to take a roll call?
Sure, okay. We will do Terry.
Yes.
We already know that's a yes. Jill,
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Melinda,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
David,
Yep.
Kate,
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Item 7C on the agenda, and Dina is just going to fill us in on our creative placemaking small projects.
I muted myself real quick. Yeah, I just had, I'm gonna update one, I think. Let me open the agenda so I can remind myself what I'm talking about.
You've got Mitch Levins, Daryl's,
yeah.
and Pacha.
I
And
was
I'll
gonna-
do Daryl's if you'll do the other 2.
Yeah, so Mitch, just a real quick update, very exciting. I got approval from Leslie to build a 2-foot tall concrete base for Mitch Levin's sculpture. And the location, I'll say the pretty much only location I could find in the whole town for a sculpture to come and borrow it right now is at the sports stable, which is normally I would have you guys vote on this, but it really is the only location for this sculpture. I looked all over town for a concrete pad, existing concrete pad or an existing space that could fit this huge sculpture. And the only other place that I could find that was a possibility was Community Park. And we already are putting 3 new artworks there. Plus we may end up putting our blue community mural that was made last December at the holiday party at Community Park. So this really rose to the top of the possibilities. does everybody kind of know this area right here? Has everyone been to the sports stable?
Yeah.
One thing that is really interesting about this site is that there's this huge existing circular pad that's already there. And apparently they were supposed to have put a flagpole in, but they never did. So it's just this empty spot, and it just, oh, let's see here if I can zoom in.
This would be way better than a flagpole.
Yeah, so it's right in this spot, but I was trying to get to the street level so I could show you the viewpoint. So here's the empty spot, and really it's just going to tower. It's going to be, the sculpture itself is 9 feet tall, and so on a 2-foot concrete pad, it's going to be 11 feet tall. And let me show you the updated picture of it, and I won't take too long because but this is what it looks like in the shop right now, and it's just about to be finished, but it's 9 feet tall. It's just going to be such a great view of it in this spot. So I got permission to create the base, and it got built today. So it's very exciting. It's a movable concrete base that can be moved later. Once we have given Mitch his sculpture back, we could either put another sculpture here, or we could move it and put the concrete base somewhere else. So
Okay.
it's so
It
exciting.
looks like there's a circle back there. Is that where it's going to go?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Perfect. It's so
Yes.
exciting. And we'll have a light on it so it'll shine and
Yeah, so Debbie bought the lights for the prairie dogs, and I have a couple extras. So we're going to give those a try and see how well they do. They're little solar lights that
it's
point
gonna
upward.
get all of those people driving into the
Mhm.
sports table. It's really nice.
Yeah. And this picture doesn't show the pickleball court that's here now, but still the background is going to be just a beautiful background of not really much going on. It'll be really great feature there.
Question for you, Dina, totally unrelated to what we're doing. Since this is not our building, if we wanted to do a mural on their wall, they'd have to approve that, right?
They would. We already chatted with them about it while we were looking at the site. Debbie happened to be driving by when I was going to meet with the sports stable, so she popped out of her car, and they're excited about anything we want to do. And especially I said, well, if we do a mural on your building, maybe we could partner and they could help fund it a little bit. So
Oh, good.
they're really open. And as a matter of fact, since they're a local company, I asked them one day if they would be willing to let us put the sculpture here and sign our agreement and our easement agreement. And on the next day, they said yes. So having a local company took one day compared to, national organization is still not giving us an answer.
Are these wings gonna be, is the backside gonna look like the front?
Well, so he's shown us the back here, and what this cardboard represents is a piece of metal. So he's closing in the backside so that it looks a little bit prettier than what it actually looks like right now, which is the back of all the shovels.
And which way are you facing it?
This will face out to the street,
Okay,
and this will face the building.
okay.
And so that'll just be a sheet of metal there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Well,
It took me a while to realize the shovels were the feathers.
Yeah.
Well, and the cool thing too is the space where it will go has been somewhat neglected. So we're kind of hoping in the spring through help or persuasion or whatever, that basically space will be cleaned up a little bit, because you're adding in this amazing piece of sculpture. So we kind of like to, spruce it up a bit. So I think that's doable. Right now it looks a little run down, but we're also hoping by adding in the sculpture that the landscaping will, enrich it and kind of come around a little bit too. So
How long do we get to keep the piece of artwork?
He's real open. I negotiated the agreement is 18 months. So we'll get it a year and a half.
Okay.
And, he said if he by chance sells it, he'll bring us another one before that 18 months is up. But, these sculptures that get put in these loans around the state, they don't sell very quickly. So I'm not really worried about losing this particular one.
Okay, good.
So that's the only update for that one. And that actually could probably go in like the first week of December. So I'll just keep you up to date on that.
Okay, Terry, you want to take over? Was Terry, you doing the update on Daryl's?
Yeah, yeah. Daryl had proposed a project that she was wanting to use a mural on a board, but it would go at the school, El Dorado K-8. And she decided that she needed to change the medium because she didn't think, I think from experience, that the boards probably would be the right way to go. So she was changing it to use a graphic design on the print, to graphic design print on vinyl. And it'd be like a removable sticker. And it will be attached to the wall there on the outside of the school. And El Dorado K-8 has agreed with this project. And, you know, you can have access to the grounds all day long, and that is not an issue. So that's good. And we're looking at if there are any issues with placing this property on school grounds. We don't anticipate there will be any problems with that, though. Leslie, did you find any issues with regard to that?
Sorry. No, I have not found anything that would prohibit that.
Okay, good. So that's the only thing that she was changing was that. And I'm assuming she will be starting on that fairly soon.
Okay, Dean, anything on Pacha?
Yeah, so Pacha,
Okay.
you guys actually need to look at her images and help decide the direction. And sorry, I thought I had that open. I'm opening it now. Oh, I could just get it from the agenda. Haha. Hold on a second. Oh no, I didn't put it on the
No,
agenda.
it's, I was gonna say, I don't have any on my agenda.
Let me find it here. Oh, here it is. Proposal update. Okay, so the idea tonight is to review her images. I assume you've already all looked at them. You can provide feedback for her, which way to go. And then actual, we need to kind of give her some direction on the location too. So we have 3 choices for the location. This is a rendering that she did, which is such a great way to understand how this might look. This is the left side of an
You gotta
underpass.
share. We're still looking at you.
Oh. Okay, this is the left side of an underpass. And this is the right side. So that's how it will look. It's going to be 8 feet tall and 12 feet wide on each side. And of course, under the underpass, it's very protected from the weather. And I'm working with her to get a anti-graffiti coat on top so that graffiti can be removed easily. And just a quick reminder, this should last about 12 months if it's not weathered, and then it may last longer. So here's image 1, image 2, image 3, and image 4. Are there more? There's 2 more, 5 and 6. So she has 6 images to select among, and you can pick 2. And then the locations we can go into next unless you want to do that all at one time.
Yes.
Any thoughts on the images, preferred images?
I like the first 2 that you showed, to the left and to the right. Yeah, the trees, and yeah, these 2 are my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I think those really stand out for me.
Yeah.
That one, yeah, that one is my favorite with the woman or the young girl in the thistle and the prairie. That's a cool picture.
Is that
And
the
that one's
artist
too.
that she, sorry, is this the artist that does her self in the images?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask her if that was her.
I
think
like
this
the
one's-
idea that it's
I
on
think this
both
one's kinda
sides of the.
Spooky.
Oh, David thinks it's spooky.
I think it looks like graveyardy.
Yeah, I agree.
Go to the next two after that.
So Jill, which one looks spooky?
The first two, somehow the trees look like crosses. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I
Oh.
see
Yeah,
that
two,
now.
2 and 3 look like graveyardy. I like
Oh.
number 1. 4 is pretty cool too.
I like the colors in 4.
Yeah. And what's 5 and 6 again?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like 5 and 6 as well.
So
Actually,
we're ruling out the ones that
5 more
look too
than
dark.
6.
Well, I mean,
Well, yeah, you don't, I mean, it's going to be dark enough in the underpass, so.
I like 1 and 2 for sure, but I don't know. I mean, you're going to be walking under a bridge. I don't know. Kind of. Do you want a creepy vibe? I don't know.
Is that? I don't think the second one's creepy. It has all warm colors. I mean, is that because of
I
the
think kids
clouds?
living-
Or?
No, that one's fine. That one's fine.
Should I bring my kids in here a little bit?
That half the people are gonna love it and half the people are gonna think it's something else.
Sure.
So,
Bring your
So-
kids in. I'd be
I think
curious.
the public will experience it.
David, do bring your kids and see which one.
Okay.
So wait, what were they again?
Yeah, I want to.
Numbered order? Okay. I think 3 does look kind of spooky. I would agree with that. And 5
they
is a
want-
little weird because it looks like, I don't know.
I don't like 5 either. The sepia.
Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
like 5.
Are we worried that 6 is a square format and not a rectangle?
Yeah, how's that gonna fit?
You want to go back to the first, just go run through them all? Oh, here, I'll let you,
I like that.
here, can you go back to number 1?
What?
So do you like these two at all?
Yeah, those are pretty. Those are cool.
You like two is looking good for you guys too?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Look at 3 and 4.
How about 3 and 4? You like those at
Oh,
all?
I love 4. 3. I like
3,
3.
You
I
like
like
3?
3.
You
I
like
like
3?
4 a
What about 4?
I don't know what 4 is.
You don't know what it is. It's a dream.
It's a dream
Dream
catcher.
catcher.
That could
I
also
can
be.
tell that part, but I don't know who that person is.
Right.
Most probably.
And then 5 and 6?
I love 5 and 6.
You love 5 and 6?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
So in other words, they
Thank
like
you
them all.
guys, appreciate it.
They like them all. Yeah. Okay. Not creepy. That was important.
Yeah. I guess I'm more creeped out.
From that perspective, right?
Well, do they have to be in the pairs that they are?
No,
Like, Like 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 or?
yeah, you can pick whichever you like.
I kind of like that one, the proposed image 1, which is that one.
Okay, do we need to maybe do a subcommittee that picks them? Because it doesn't sound like was there any clear answer?
Go through them again. Okay, these are 1 and 2.
Or should we just let the artist pick them?
Well, the only one I'm not fond of is 4. Is that the one that, yeah, that one seems kind of dark and I like all the others, but 3 just seems a little bit dark to me. And in
I
an
like-
underpass, I don't know.
I
Other than
like
that, I
1
like
and 4.
Dina, do we have to do can we do these on a Zoom like early next week or something? Just literally 15 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, and we can get her on too if you want.
Yeah, let's
Well,
do that.
okay.
I don't think we have any consensus here of, and if we're gonna pick 2 out of the 6, we probably should take 20 minutes and just talk about it. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, and we could probably go ahead and decide where we want to see them
Oh,
located.
yeah, where do we want it?
Okay, so there are 3 choices. We have 2 underpasses, as you know, and where's, oh, the next page. So the first site is where it's rendered in the image, but the other underpass looks exactly the same. So site number 2 right here is where it's rendered in the first 2 pictures. And that's under the underpass to Louisville. And then the other option is to place it here where the community mural is and just put the community mural in storage until the board decides what they want to do with the mural. And then this section here, this underpass is right below Autry Park. And like I mentioned here, the nice thing about this location is it offers maybe a first connection for the art path.
My preference would be there. And just because it seems like we don't have anything there. We're going to with the bus shelters, but
Oh, you mean going from the apartments like over to Safeway?
yeah,
Yeah, so
Oh,
this,
I think that's a great idea.
yeah, this is the path to Autry Park. And then this
Yeah.
path goes all the way to Safeway and Community Park.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. I think that's yeah, that is a neglected area, even though they do have a bus shelter, but it's a very popular, populated path.
yeah, a lot of people walk to the dog park through there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that bridge, that underpass for this one.
Yeah, so here's the connection right here. It's this green path. And it goes all the way over here and then all the way up here. And this is going to be a regional trail right here at Autry Park is going to be connected to the regional trail to up here
Oh,
eventually.
to the,
I don't know
to the
exactly.
mall, Flatirons,
It goes somewhere up here somewhere
to the mall.
to the highway.
I love that idea. That's a good one.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we came up with a location, just not sure what's going to be painted
Which,
there.
yeah, what the art is. Okay, let's plan a meeting maybe 20 minutes early next week. Do we need to vote on the location or are we good, Dina?
I think if there's consensus, everybody, did anyone like the other spots? Want to argue for the other spots? Ooh, Kate brought a friend.
Melissa, wait, I didn't read it.
She said it looked kind of like fake Native American.
Yeah, I agree with that. With the white girl, is that what we're talking about? And the like dream catcher and the feathers. I don't think that's really appropriate.
Okay,
I would like to stay away from 4 as well.
okay. So we've ruled out 4. What about the one to me that looks kind of dark? Am I the only one that feels it's dark?
It definitely reminds me of a ghost in a cemetery.
So should we rule that one out again?
Yeah, rule it out. I mean, if someone has really strong reactions, then definitely no.
Well,
And I'm definitely worried about a square and a rectangle if they're going to be across from each other. I feel like they should be the same size, and I don't know why it's in a square format and if it could be rectangle, but
Yeah.
that doesn't fit to me, so I feel like that should go out.
Okay, so we've ruled out 3 and 4. Awesome.
And a potential square one 6. Go
6.
back up, Dina.
Although if 6 could be expanded to a rectangle, then
People are
it's not
gonna-
bad.
Draw things going up her nose. Okay, go.
We've ruled out, okay.
I don't know about 5 either. I like number 5, but when I first looked at it, I wasn't sure she was wearing clothes. So I had to look at it a couple of times and was like, oh, okay. You know,
Yeah,
which, you know, teach their own, but
I think I'm back back to
Yeah.
1 and 2. I like the blue. I like the sky, the blue sky of number 2.
Could we all like put our vote in the chat, or Dina, can you go around and we just tell you what our favorites are and see if we get a consensus, or do you want to take this offline?
I think it's better to go offline because then we're rushing.
Okay,
And we're not in a rush for time. She has time, so.
okay. All right, we know the location. We've agreed on that. And we'll come back to the 4. We like 4 out of, we've ruled out 2. So we really only have 4 to decide. So that'll be helpful. Or maybe we just go
Just
through
so
it next week.
Just so I've got it in the notes, what are we calling the underpass location?
Rock Creek Parkway.
Okay.
Autry Park.
Okay, sounds good. Item 7C on the agenda. No, wait, no. Just an update, 7D. The light art at Grasso Park.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. So the idea is to launch the first night of the light installation will be December 2nd. And I chatted with Leslie about the possibility of CAPS holding your annual dinner, if you will, on December 17th at the park. And due to the, Boulder County outdoor events guidelines for our red zone that we're in right now for the virus, we would be allowed to do that with under 15 people at the park. And we'd all have to wear masks, and it would be, you'd have to stay 6 feet away from each other. So conceivably you could have the guy, Mike, come with his 2-hour music that he's offered. He's offered 3 2-hour music nights to go with each theme. And we could do the 2-hour music night that night for you guys. And then you could have your holiday dinner then. However, we wouldn't want to advertise it. We can't have family members come. And it would only be you guys. I would not be able to attend. So it would just be the 8 of you and 9 if we have a 9th member.
And will we know our new trustee by then?
I think they're deciding December 14th. Is that right? Les?
So,
And then they don't get appointed, if you will, or confirmed until the January meeting.
but if we, there's a good chance we'll have 9 members by December 14th, or are they voting, doing their interviews? That would affect Melissa a little bit.
They're not doing interviews for new advisory committees until January, I believe.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Can we table the dinner? I don't want to like be a party pooper, but.
Yeah, we don't have to do it that night. We could wait till we get out of the red zone and book another night.
David, I like that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable, and we might be super uncomfortable just standing around outside, like trying to make the most of it with, it's not.
Yeah. Is that okay, Dina? Can we like have Mike the light guy come maybe January and February and March, for instance?
Yeah, of course. He can come anytime we want him to. For each theme. Each theme will get 1 night of 2-hour music. Otherwise, the Spotify music list is available. So you go to the park on your own and you listen to the music on your device while you're watching the lights.
And
Well,
then
we can
will
still
have
do that though.
You
And
can
then
do
we'll
that
have a
on-
postcard with the dates and the times for people to, stop by, not to gather.
Awesome, that sounds great. And because then you can just, if you're looking for something to do with, your family and your 2 kids or whatever it might be, then you can just still go to the park and see the lights, socially distance, and do the Spotify list, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would
awesome.
think that people who are going to look at the Christmas tree over in the whatever that park.
Estes?
Yeah,
Mhm.
they might come over and look at Grasso at the same time.
Well, and they should be able to see it from McCaslin, as you guys know. So, good idea, David. I like that. So. Okay. Super quick update, item 7E on the agenda. Dina, can you just zip, sorry, Dina, can you just zip through those?
I had to close my bedroom door.
And obviously, we're not going to be able to do the Superior snapshots. We could maybe do that next week or something.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'd like to get the subcommittee together for the Superior snapshots and go over.
Okay,
I just did a real quick book in Shutterfly. So I'd like to go over that with the committee and see what you guys want to do.
okay.
So that's just this here, real fast. And then the other update was, oh, the marketplace. So the coal carts, we're signing the agreement with the artist to move the coal cart. So no big update there. No big update with Target either. They sent me a bunch of questions a month ago. I answered them and I haven't heard back. The art path, I don't think there's any updates that I know of unless there's somebody else who wants to give a quick update about that.
Did we decide on a name?
We didn't yet, but I think we should maybe do that, you know, soon, January for sure. Maybe the subcommittee needs to meet in January and really get some of those details going. I think that, I guess, is really the update. Is the next subcommittee meeting would be in early January.
Early January. Is there any way to broadcast this through the whole town? That maybe there's some creative marketing person in Superior that would come up with something,
Yeah,
you know, name, you know how they said name Coyote Ridge, name Ormond Roche or whatever?
sure. Especially once we figure out the two legs in a little bit more detail, which we could do at the January subcommittee meeting.
Okay,
That'll help too. Maybe the shape of it, or maybe a street it goes down or something someone will be inspired by.
okay.
And then of
And
course, Rachel, we can be in touch. Is she off? Yeah, she got off. I'll talk with
Yeah.
her later about her map, but,
okay,
and then real quick, the prairie dog, let's see here. Nathan picked up his prairie dog and we found a great spot for it in Community Park between the two baseball fields. And it'll be under the awning of the concession stand. So it'll be safe from the elements because it will have technology in it. And the less wet it gets, the better. And then also we'll tie into the power at the concession stand. So it will be really easy to do that and cheaper. So we don't have to buy solar power.
oh, that's a great idea.
Very good. When does he anticipate getting it done?
I'm not quite sure yet. He just picked the prairie dog up on Monday. So I'll get an update from him once he's hung out with it for a couple days.
Okay.
We have a concession stand?
We do.
Yeah.
But we don't use it. It hasn't been used in years, apparently.
Okay, yeah, I've never, I have no idea where it is. Okay.
All
Those
right.
are all my updates, quick updates.
Okay, the only thing to keep in mind, the 5-minute presentation or whatever that is that we have in a really cool way to present to the Board of Trustees on December 14th. And that will be for just, they're going to vote on the Ormond Roche Trailhead piece of art from the 3 choices. And then the ideas we voted on tonight for the Colton building. So that should be a pretty short presentation, actually. And we need to do our work plan, and that's going to be basically based on the master plan. And we need to have a chair and vice chair for CAPS, and I would love it if someone would take it over. So if anybody has an interest in doing that, please let Dina know. So I think we've done and accomplished a lot of the things that we wanted to do this year, and everything is blended together in an amazing way, which is what I wanted to see accomplished. So please keep that in mind, and it'd be great if someone else jumped in and wanted to do it. So,
Well, and also mention is because like my tenure is up in March and your tenure is up. So, and Terry, when is yours up?
I just was renewed,
Oh, so. like,
but I'm not sure again how long I'm going to be here.
Right. So,
I mean,
yeah, and so next year, Debbie and Terry and
well,
I.
yeah, well, Melinda goes off first, then I go off And Terry
Yeah.
may move back to Nashville at that point in time.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of just make sure we're really organized. We have done an amazing job with getting all the art. The public art handbook is all done. Policy procedures, that kind of stuff is well established, which will allow someone to step in and really do it. It will be way easier going forward. It's still a task, but I would love to have somebody else, step in and do this. So keep that in mind. All right. On that note, if you have any
I just
burning
have-
issues,
I just have one thing I want to make sure we've got for upcoming. So the Colton Community Center, Dina, do you want to have a meeting with the Moss people? Do you need a subcommittee for that? Do I need to put that on the agenda, on the notes?
I think we could convene whoever wants to join in and have a call with her. I'd say even I'll call her tomorrow and see if we can get her early next week, whatever your guys' schedule allows.
Okay.
and can we get a tour?
What's the look like on that, getting a tour, Leslie?
I can set up a tour. Probably would be hard with the full group, but maybe with 3 or 4 people, it would be fine. Typically late afternoons work well, 3, 4 o'clock.
Okay,
Just
just
let
let us
me-
know, Leslie.
You guys can pick a day. I mean, if you have something in mind, I would do it. If you're going to do it next week,
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
Thanksgiving next week.
Well, Thanksgiving is next week.
let's do it the week after next week.
Okay, that sounds good.
So
4 o'clock in the afternoon, you said?
3 or 4 works well because a lot of their contractors are out of there by then, so it's not quite as noisy. So
Well, and we could still have a call with Megan, maybe Monday or Tuesday of this coming week. And then we can do a tour the next week. Does that
All right.
sound-
Sounds good.
And then the creative placemaking meeting will be next week too. For the
about
prints.
the prints. Possibly. I don't think we're in a rush to do that. I think we can give her an answer after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you all. Melissa, thank you for joining us. And of course, if you have any ideas, please email us and reach out to us.
Yeah.
Thank
So-
you very much. I loved sitting in. I should have mentioned I do have a background in art.
Yeah, should have mentioned.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see all this, even if I don't make it to the committee. It'll be exciting to see everything you discussed in person one day. So
Yeah, it is a really very cool group. So
yeah.
thank you for attending our meeting tonight, and
Yeah.
the rest of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thanksgiving.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
everybody.
you too. Bye-bye.